Wait is over. Hallelujah. The wait is over. Josh Jung is officially getting his big league call up. He will make his debut on Friday. We're going to get into what that means for him, what that means for the Rangers now and in the future. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, founder host for all 4 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Today is Thursday, September 8th. Your Rangers are 59 and 77. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers and subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment any single thing below. Comment what you think the line for Josh Jung is going to be on his first big league debut, when he gets his first hit, where it's going to be, what type of hit it's going to be, whatever you feel like commenting, just go ahead, because the wait is finally over. Josh Jung will make his major league debut on September 9th at home against the Blue Jays. It is a long time coming, a long time in the making. If you don't know who Josh Jung is, well, welcome to the show. I don't know how you found us, but I'm glad you're here. Josh Jung is the Rangers' top prospect in my rankings and in several other rankings. He's been my top prospect for the last 2 years. He is a third baseman drafted out of Texas Tech University, went to high school in San Antonio, and graduated from MacArthur High School in San Antonio. He has been absolutely crushing it as of late. This debut is probably about 15 months delayed. He missed several months to start the season last year. Last year was supposed to be his big year. I mean, we saw that Charlie Culberson and Brock Holt, God bless them, God love them, they were not long-term solutions for that third base, and they were pretty much the everyday third baseman, switching off between righties and lefties, but really just there waiting for Josh Jung. But he had a broken foot that delayed his season until June, until the beginning of June is when he started his season. Started in Double A, absolutely crushed it in Double A, absolutely crushed it in Triple A, and I thought maybe he might get a cup of coffee at the end of last year. That was not the case. He was still able to train with the Rangers because he hadn't made his major league debut. During that lockout, he was able to train at the Rangers facility, and that ended up being to his detriment, because he had a shoulder injury that was supposed to keep him from playing the field the entirety of the season. The thought was maybe he'd come back in the middle of August because he had surgery on his shoulder, and it looked like 2 seasons basically just completely washed by injuries. But he came back at the end of July, a little bit earlier than they thought, and he was already playing the field. He was playing third base. He absolutely crushed it when he got called up to AAA after the first couple of games at the Arizona Complex League, just to kind of get his feet back under him. And we thought, okay, well, September 1st, maybe we thought the series before September, because it was a home series and the Rangers were going on the road for 7 straight days, actually 8 straight days. And they thought, okay, surely you're not going to delay him, 8 more days to be called up to the majors, because he was crushing at that point. He was absolutely dominating, but they did. They did wait another 8 days because they really wanted to see his defense. I'm always skeptical, because there's a lot of service time manipulation that goes into these top guys getting called up, and at this point they wanted to wait, until it would be about where he would keep his rookie eligibility with 147 at bats, something around that mark. But when that time came and went, where it was like, all right, he's going to be past that September 1st, he would be past that. It was like, all right, this is about time for him to be called up. He's going to be able to maintain his rookie eligibility next year, which is really important then with the new CBA and all the bonuses that come along with that, and him possibly winning Rookie of the Year, which he definitely wouldn't if he was called up this year and lost his rookie eligibility. Adley Rutschman or Julio Rodriguez is going to run away with that award. Both those guys are absolutely crushing it. And unless he batted 1,000 with like all home runs for 100 plate appearances or whatever, I don't think that he was going to be able to pry that award out of their hands. Now, that's not like possible, but it's fine. You're like, okay, well, maybe September 1st call up, maybe go to Boston. That's where his first major league game is. I would like to see it be at home, but you don't want to make your decisions on your player personnel and when you're promoting your top prospect based on when you can sell tickets. But I kind of get it, but I also at the same time I really would have loved to have seen him a lot earlier, because in the month of August he was absolutely annihilating every single little thing that he saw. In the month of August, in 17 games at Round Rock, he had a slash line of 311, 363, and 635. That is a 998 OPS. He had 6 home runs in that month in just 17 games. The guy was hitting everything that he was seeing, but it was all about getting him the defensive reps at third base. And one of the big things that Tony Beasley said once the call up was made public is that he's going to be the Rangers' everyday third baseman. So what does that mean for Ezekiel Duran? We'll get into that a little bit later, but it means that those reps defensively, you only get 3-4 chances a game at third base, and he'd only played 17 games in that month of August. They needed to see a little bit more. The bat was obviously ready. Those 6 games in September, after seeing some of his friends, which must have been hard for him, seeing some of these guys, these high schoolers, guys drafted in high school after him in that same draft, guys like Brett Beatty, who was drafted 12th overall in 2019, Corbin Carroll, who was drafted by the Diamondbacks 16th overall, and Gunnar Henderson, who was in the second round, the first overall pick in the second round, 42nd overall. All those kids were high school picks right after him that made their major league debuts before him. Now, like I said, if everything went well, he didn't have that broken foot, if he didn't have that shoulder injury, he would have already been in the big leagues this year. This would have been his rookie year. He might have even lost his eligibility last year, last year, because that's how ready the bat was. And the glove defensively at third base, I think he's solid. He's not going to be anything spectacular. Don't expect Adrian Beltre. Don't expect, Noah Arenado. He's going to be fine, though. He's going to be fine. He is a hard worker. He is a great kid. He absolutely lives and breathes baseball. In fact, like during keeping him away from baseball while he was injured, while he wasn't able to play, like he was still there in the moment, in everything, like talking guys' ears off, learning pitcher tendencies, like studying, just learning, absorbing like a freaking sponge. He is obsessed with baseball. That is one thing that you absolutely love to see from your top prospects. He is a great kid. This is well deserved. You kind of tell if you saw the video of when he was told about making his major league debut. The Round Rock manager was telling him, "Hey, I think you need to go see the strength coaches in Arlington to go get a little bit more oomph because you're going to the big leagues." And he's just kind of like, "Yep, all right, I'm ready. I knew this was coming. I'm ready for it." And he is going to absolutely crush it. I cannot wait to see what he is going to do on his major league debut. Coming up, we're going to get into who he's going to face off against, where he kind of slots in this lineup, and how good he should be expected to be right off the bat. But first, this episode is brought to you by Built Bar. If you hadn't tried Built Bar Puffs yet, you were depriving yourselves of one of life's greatest joys. And guess what? There is a new flavor. Are you ready? Delicious, indulgent cookie dough. Covered in chocolate. That's right, Built has done it again. Let me introduce you to your new favorite. The cookie dough chunk puffs have a light, chewy texture, real cookie dough chunks, and of course they're covered in 100% real chocolate. All the joys of eating cookie dough without the hassle of making it. Plus, it's healthy for you. Cookie dough chunk puffs are only 160 calories and they have a whopping 15 grams of protein in them. Run to built.com, snag yourself a box for you or for your family. It is the perfect treat. If you can find a really good hiding spot, you can hoard them all for yourself, and that's what you're going to want to do because these are so absolutely delicious. What's great about Built is they make bars with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides a ton of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get locked on 15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED on 15 at built.com. Now, he is going to make his major league debut on Friday. We already said that it's going to be against the Toronto Blue Jays. It's going to be at home. Now, who's going to be the starting pitcher in this one? That's right. He will face off against Ross Stripling. He is a 32-year-old right-handed pitcher, listed at 6'1", 215 pounds. He graduated from South Lake Carroll, so he is a local kid coming back here to the Metroplex. He went to Texas A&M out of college, was drafted by the Dodgers in the fifth round. He's a one-time All-Star, and right now he's having almost a better season than his All-Star year. He got hurt in that All-Star season, didn't pitch all that many innings, but right now he is on pace for a new career high in innings. He has been fairly effective, and one of the things that he does really, really well is he does not walk anybody. He's in the top 5% of baseball of walks issued, chase rate. He's getting guys to expand the zone really, really well in the top 10% of baseball and all of that. Not getting hit very hard. Expected ERA and expected WOBA in the top third of baseball. Other than that, not a whole lot of super impressive stuff. He's just been a fairly solid starting pitcher. The fastball is nothing crazy. He throws it 41% of the time. It averages 92 miles an hour. He's got a changeup, a slider, and a curveball. That fastball is mostly four seamer, but a little bit of a sinker. Nothing too crazy. No fork balls, no knuckleballs, nothing wild. Just a straight up pretty run of the mill Arsenal. He's fairly effective. This is a good Toronto Blue Jays team, but it's not like he is facing off against the best of the best of the best. What he could be facing off against is one of the other really good pitchers for the Toronto Blue Jays, who was actually drafted in his same draft a little bit higher than him, Alex Manoa. I'm not sure if he's going to be. Actually, I don't think he's going to be on the mound. He's going to have to face off against Kevin Gausman in his second start. I'm not sure exactly where Manoa lines up, if he could be starting that Sunday game. But Manoa was drafted out of West Virginia just a couple of spots ahead of Josh Jung in that draft. He is an all-star, and that would be a fun matchup to see because I'm pretty sure he faced off against him for several years in college, and that would be kind of cool to see another Big 12 guy from that draft, which is looking really, really loaded. There's a lot of really, really talented guys in that 2019 pick. Adley Rutschman went number 1 overall. Bobby Witt Jr. was 2nd overall. There's Riley Green, who was drafted by the Tigers. CJ Abrams, Nick Lodolo, Shea Langoliers, Alek Manoah. Like, that is just, and Corbin Carroll too, who's going to be really darn good for a long time for that Diamondback squad. But there's a lot of really talented players in that draft, and I think he stacks up with the very best of them. It's going to be really interesting to see how well he can do against these guys and where they slot him in the lineup. Right now, I think he's about the 5th or 6th best hitter on this team. Might be the 5th, depending on how you're feeling about Jonah Heim and how far he's fallen off, how legitimate his first half was. I do believe it's legitimate, so I think he might be a little bit lower on the totem pole, but because Jonah Heim is so overworked, and we saw him take the final 2 days off of that series in Houston, and then he has an off day. It has been a really rough stretch for his bat, but the Rangers could have used his glove in that final game of the series in Houston because the Rangers lost on a walk-off wild pitch in the 10th inning. This was a very frustrating game for the Rangers that they could have won. A one-run loss, number 30 on the season, in a 4-3 defeat to those stupid Astros. And you know what? We're done with them. They're done. No more Astros games against the Rangers until 2023. Hallelujah. Thank the Lord. Praise Jesus. I am so done with that team and seeing them. It is just so frustrating. But Cole Ragans came back. He pitched 3 innings. Now you may be wondering, okay, well, I thought he was healthy. Why is he coming back and only, throwing 3 innings? Well, that was the deal. He hadn't pitched in 2 weeks. He was on a strict 50 pitch count. He threw 49 pitches, and that was it for him. And he only threw 26 of those for strikes. So that ability to, that frustration of not throwing a lot of strikes, that continued in this game. He had been hit for a lot of home runs. He had been hit for he had thrown a lot of walks in his major league career so far. So he's been kind of gun shy, but he didn't allow a single hit in 3 innings. He struck out 3, but he also walked 3, got the Rangers some much needed innings. Brett Martin was able to get in and gave up a run on a hit and a walk. John King was the one who was credited with the blown save, pitched an inning in 2/3, and both of those runs came on a 2-run bomb by Kyle Tucker on a pitch that was low and inside. It was out of the strike zone. He still golfed it for the hardest hit ball of the game, because actually not the hardest hit ball of the game, the 4th hardest hit ball of the game at 102 miles an hour. And it's just one of those games. You just felt like, okay, well, the Rangers are tied up 3-3, so this is not going to go well. The Astros pen is just too darn good, and the Rangers pen is very beat up and has been asked to do a whole lot, even in this own game, even in that exact game, because their starting pitcher was only able to go 3 innings, and Glenn Otto was only able to go 4 the day before, and they used a lot of top-quality relievers to finally snap that losing streak. But Jesus Sunoco did a really great job in his 1 inning of work, a shutout, perfect inning. Actually, not a perfect inning. I'm looking at the walks and strikeouts were confused. Did work around a pair of walks. Did not allow a single hit. Jonathan Hernandez came in, pitched an inning and 2/3. did not allow a single base runner except for those 2 intentional walks in the 10th inning. Got a shutout. Ninth inning, headed to the 10th inning, you thought, okay, well, maybe the Rangers can do something here. Their zombie runner was Nick Solak, and up comes Bubba Thompson. You thought, okay, well, Bubba Thompson can, lay down some pretty good bunts. He's got Marcus Semien and Corey Seager coming up. So if he can get the runner to third base with one out, even if he does have to sacrifice himself, or if he does get on base, then that would be able to give the Rangers a cushion, give them a 2-run lead, so that a home run immediately in the bottom of the second isn't of the walk-off variety. But it was a great play by Hector Neris, who the bunt was popped up a little bit, which Bubba Thompson normally does such a good job of those bunts and using his elite fastest player in baseball speed. I don't know how they calculate it. Depending on what metric you're calculating it by, he might not be the fastest, but he's either first or second. He is just otherworldly fast. We talked about it a whole lot before, and he's been such a valuable player for the Rangers. But he popped that up. Hector Neris caught the ball. Nick Solak was not able to go to third base. Marcus Semien flew out to Kyle Tucker in foul territory, and a really, really nice play by Kyle Tucker. It's just so frustrating seeing him he's made so many great plays against the Rangers in Houston, in Arlington, dropped so many home runs, and this is another one of those great plays that you had to have a whole lot of speed, a really great jump on the ball. It was just barely in foul territory, but for most right fielders, that would have just fallen harmlessly for another strike. But didn't matter. Corey Seager comes up, and he is in a rough way at this point, and he struck out swinging and wasn't able to get a single ball. In comes the bottom of the second inning, and the Astros were able to do what the Rangers were not in terms of getting the runner over to third base. The Rangers intentionally walked Jose Altuve, and Jeremy Pena reached on a fielder's choice. Then they intentionally walked Yordan Alvarez, and so up comes the guy who just won the AL Player of the Month award in Alex Bregman, and he doesn't even get a chance to drive in the winning run because on the second pitch of his at-bat, Jonathan Hernandez throws a wild pitch that I feel like could have been blocked a little bit better by Sam Huff, but wasn't. It was a tricky pitch to block nonetheless, but he tried to stab at it, didn't move his entire body to go get it, and that gets away, and Jose Altuve scores, and the Astros win the game, and the Rangers are done with Houston for the season. Now, coming up, we're going to get into what this call-up means for Ezekiel Duran and what it means for Bubba Thompson. But first, it's a word from our sponsors. Now, the big question of who this is going to impact the most, I think it's got to be Ezekiel Duran. Duran has done a really good job as the Rangers' primary third baseman this year. He has played the most games there. He has fought well offensively. He is 23 years old, a little bit younger than Josh Jung. I do think he's got a little bit better of a range, but he does have less experience at third base. His arm is more than enough for the position, making some of the hardest throws in all of baseball from that third base spot this year. Very quick, very fast. He's walking a little bit more than I thought he would, which is not a whole lot. He is a very, very aggressive swinger. He's got a whole lot of raw power. I think a little bit more than Josh Jung. It's played decently well in the big leagues, but he's still slugging just 365. He's got an OPS of 643 in 220 plate appearances at the big leagues this year. He's played in 58 games. Almost all of those have come at third base. He's played a little bit at second base as well. 9 games, 6 of those were starts at second base. He's DH just 1 game, which I feel like can't be right. I feel like I've seen him DH a whole lot more. But we are going to see him probably DH a whole lot more, because if he's going to play, he's probably going to be the DH. Now, I know you also share my frustrations with Nathaniel Lowe, but Tony Beasley was very staunch in his defense of Lowe. He is our first baseman. He is going to stay there, even though by his own admission, Lowe said his defense has been, well, you know what, I'm not allowed to say that on this podcast anymore. But he's been getting better. This is only his second year full-time in the big leagues. And he talked about, there's a great article written by Levi Weaver of The Athletic talking about his defensive struggles and what he's trying to improve, and also about how well he's done offensively. He talked about Freddie Freeman, who didn't win a Gold Glove until his 8th full season in the big leagues, struggled a lot defensively at first base. We've seen even guys on the Rangers' own team who have had some really bad struggles defensively in their early years. Marcus Semien had just so many errors at shortstop. They brought in Ron Washington for the A's to help work with him defensively. The Rangers have Tony Beasley, who has been a defensive guru to work with Nathaniel Lowe defensively. We've seen him make some really good plays, but a lot of boneheaded errors, a lot of not keeping his focus, which is something that will come with consistency. Hopefully, maybe eventually down the road, he does move to a DH role and Ezekiel Duran will be at third base, or maybe Ezekiel Duran will be at second base, Josh Jung will be at first, and Seager will move to third, and Simeon will move to shortstop. Who knows? But at this point, we do know is that Bubba Thompson is not losing his job in the outfield because what he has been able to do defensively and offensively has been extremely valuable to the Rangers. In just 30 games, he is already a .8 baseball reference for player. He's creeping up into that Rangers top 10, which is frustratingly not changed a whole lot as of late in the back end. Jose Leclerc is popping up there as the 12th most valuable baseball reference WAR player. Because of his recent struggles, Leody Taveras has fallen out of that top 12, which will display your face and name up there. Eli White, who is rehabbing right now, is still holding fast in that number 11 spot. And Jose Leclerc, like we said, is right there. Bubba Thompson might be passing him at some point. I thought Bubba might pass him. I thought Leody would stay past Eli White, but yet Eli White remains, which I don't know. I don't know how that's going to all stack up. The Rangers have a lot of tough decisions on that 40-man, but I know that Bubba Thompson is going to stay. I don't know what's going to happen with Eli White. I do know that Ezekiel Duran is definitely going to stay. He's probably going to stay in the big leagues, but the Rangers do send him down. There are, I believe, 19 more games, including this Thursday night game, which he's not going to sit down on Thursday. If the Rangers do decide to keep him getting some major league at bats, maybe get him some more work in left field or right field, which I think could play a little bit with how ridiculously strong his arm is. They're not going to get a whole lot of time backing up Marcus Semien at second base because he plays so many games. He's probably not going to get that many games backing up Corey Seager, who is probably going to play the remainder of the games, maybe get 1 or 2 days off, and Josh Jung, who is going to be the everyday third baseman. Maybe he'll get some time to spell Josh Jung a little bit more than those other guys because he is still getting back from that injury. He's got 99 plate appearances, I believe, maybe at bats since he's been brought off the IL after that shoulder injury. But it's not going to be a whole lot of playing time in the field for Ezekiel Duran, despite what he has done so far. It should be noted, it's very impressive what he's doing. I was a little concerned with how he might struggle with so few games above A ball. I mean, this is the first year that he's really played a lot above A ball. I think he might have played a little bit in Double A last year, if I remember correctly, about Ezekiel Duran, but he really just has not played that many games at the high levels. He had a great Arizona Fall League last year. Let's see. No, he did not play above A ball last year. He made his Double A debut this year to start the season at second, at short, a little bit at third in Frisco after that great Arizona Fall League. I don't think that he's going to be sent back there. I don't think that Josh Smith is going to spend any time at the Fall League. I'm not sure who the Rangers are going to send for their batter there. I really don't know. I think it might be Dustin Harris, but they've got 2 slots, so that'll be another question for another time. But this is definitely going to directly impact Ezekiel Duran, and this is kind of where the Rangers are going to be putting the puzzle pieces together on who is going to fit where for the long term, because they have some of these questions. The left field is in question at this point. I do love what Bubba Thompson's doing, but having one guy who is just absolutely elite speed, elite defense, having 2 of them that don't provide a whole lot of offensive value in Leody and Bubba, I think that kind of stints your lineup, unless like they're just otherworldly great defensively, which they have been. But even then, you kind of got to see a little bit more offensive pop from both these guys. Leody had a really great start to his season, but since then has really fallen off. His OPS is all the way down to 723, which is below Adolis Garcia's, which is a little bit above, a little bit above what Mitch Garver is doing, but it is a little bit above Bubba Thompson as well, because Bubba only has those 2 extra hits. The one should have been home run in Houston and the actual home run against Houston in Arlington that he hit the absolute crap out of last week. But Leody has not had a whole lot of extra base hits. He has not had as many of those bloop singles fallen. He has not been able to walk at the same rate. He has been in a little bit of a rut as of late, but still providing that ridiculously good defense in center field and, well, pretty much just center field because that's pretty much all he plays. But with him and Bubba and Adolis out there in the field, I think the Rangers have the best defensive outfield in all of Major League Baseball. The only one that even comes close is probably the Dodgers when they have Gallo in left field, Bellinger in center, and Mookie in right. And the difference for those guys would be I think Mookie's got a little bit better range. I think Mookie might be the best defensive corner outfielder in all of baseball. He's got that ridiculous arm, which might not be the same level of power. It's a little more accurate, I think, than Adolis Garcia's. Gallo obviously has a much stronger arm than Bubba Thompson. We've seen Bubba be tested in left field and come up a little bit short on some throws, a little bit inaccurate on some throws. But he is definitely a lot faster than Gallo, has a lot better range, might be making a little bit better reads off the bat on those plays. But the Rangers have a really, really good, really, really great outfield defense, not so great infield defense, and you need at least one of those to be significantly above average if you're going to compete. But this raises a lot of questions. I think Dustin Harris is going to be one of the guys fighting for that left field spot. I think Trevor Hauver might be fighting for it as well, and Aaron Zavala might end up being the best of all of those guys in the corner outfield, not defensively, but offensively, the stuff that he's been doing at Frisco. He is really going to push some guys. The Rangers have some decisions to make. They also have some decisions to make about DH. When Mitch Garver comes back next year, how much is he going to DH when he is not catching? Is Nathaniel Lowe going to be a little bit more of a DH, or are we going to see a marked improvement from him not being the worst defensive first baseman in all of Major League Baseball? That's really all it takes with the amount of crazy offense that he is bringing. If that can be, consistently what he's going to do, he's got an 867 OPS at this point. He's finally slugging above 500 at 507, hitting 306, on base of 360 on the dot. He's got 24 home runs on the season, which is second on the Rangers. He has passed Adolis Garcia. He has passed Marcus Semien. I think he's going to stay in that number 2 slot, and he might end up catching Corey Seager if this funk for Corey continues, because Nathaniel Lowe is still lighting the world on fire, has been the entire second half of baseball. But I am excited to see what we're going to get from Josh Jung. It is about freaking time to see him at the major league level. And I think he's going to thrive. I think this kid has been ready. He knows that this is his time to shine. He's going to be 25 years old, a 25-year-old rookie next year. He could have been a 23-year-old rookie, but that is not how things broke out for him. He has fought through adversity. He has fought through adversity again and again and again. And now it is his time to shine and be celebrated. Congratulations to Josh Jung, the entire Jung family. Hoping we can see a whole lot of mom and dad and grandpa and cousins and whoever. I don't think his brother Jace is going to be able to take some time off from wherever he is playing to go and see him, but I'm sure he'll be watching on his phone in the dugout wherever he's playing. Congratulations, Josh. It is about freaking time, and I cannot wait for Friday night. That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. Thank y'all so much again for making your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, go check out the Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022, an 8-episode extravaganza to get you ready for the NFL season, the local team experts on the Locked On Podcast Network, plus a betting angle from Lee Sterling of Locked On Bets, all combining into one ultimate NFL preview. Search for Ultimate Pro Football Preview 2022 on your Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank y'all so much for subscribing, and don't forget to enjoy freaking Josh Jung.